Remember, the Mile High Club refers to people who have had sex on an airplane, but it's not as glamorous as it sounds.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the world's largest orgy involved 250 couples and took place in Japan in 2006, so there's always room for improvement.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the term libido comes from the Latin word for desire, so it's like having a really enthusiastic cheerleader for your sex drive.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the vibrator was originally invented in the 19th century as a medical device to treat female hysteria.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the 69 position is called that because it looks like the numbers 6 and 9 are enjoying each other's company.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the term cunnilingus comes from the Latin words for vulva and to lick, so it's a very literal term.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the word masturbation comes from the Latin words for hand and to defile, so it's like a DIY project for your pleasure.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the term sexy is believed to have originated in the 1920s and is thought to be a shortened form of sexual, so it's like a linguistic shortcut to arousal.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the average person will have sex about 5,000 times in their lifetime, so it's a good thing practice makes perfect.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the world's oldest known dildo is about 30,000 years old, so it's safe to say people have been getting creative for a long time.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the average amount of time spent having sex is about 5 to 7 minutes, so it's okay if you finish early.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the Kama Sutra, an ancient Indian text on sexuality, contains over 60 different sexual positions, so there's something for everyone.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the word nymphomaniac was coined in the 19th century to describe a woman with excessive sexual desire, but maybe she was just ahead of her time.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the word sex is said about 80 times in the movie Pulp Fiction, so it's definitely a recurring theme.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the word orgasm comes from the Greek word orgasmos, which means to swell with moisture. So, there you go.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the average person will spend about 6 months of their life having sex, so it's a good thing it's enjoyable.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the clitoris is the only organ in the human body solely dedicated to pleasure, so it's like a little VIP area.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the word vagina comes from the Latin word for sheath or scabbard, so it's like a sword in a friendly way.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the word fornication comes from the Latin word for arch, which is interesting.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the average person burns about 100 calories during sex, so it's a decent workout.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the term ejaculation comes from the Latin word for throwing out, so it's like a really enthusiastic high five.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the term blue balls refers to the temporary discomfort some men may feel when they're aroused but don't ejaculate. So it's not just a myth.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the record for the most orgasms in an hour is held by a woman who had 134 orgasms in 60 minutes. That's one way to pass the time.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the term orgasm comes from the Greek word for swell with moisture, which is pretty accurate.
Until we meet again!
Remember, the term foreplay was first used in the 17th century to describe the action of playing before a main event. So it's like a warm-up for your love life.
Until we meet again!